in biology, that's biological law, is that every species has a certain requirements that are required for the health of that species. They have to eat certain foods, they have to exercise or move around in a certain way, and they have to socially interact or avoid social interaction, depending on the species, in certain ways. And that's all matched. That's all species specific. So every species on Earth, every member of that species has the same genome. So people have probably heard of the human genome. But so that means that all humans are so genetically similar to each other that you could take any human from today and take a sperm or egg from any human today and match it with a sperm or egg from any human over the last 20,000 years and produce a healthy human offspring. That's how genetically similar we are. When sperm and egg meet, the sperm has half the DNA and the egg has half the DNA. That's what they're haploid cells are called. So they have half the DNA, and they meet and join together. They literally, two half cells from two living things come together, and they create a single cell, and that is called a zygote, and that is literally all of the DNA that will ever exist in that human being. Every other cell, and that's one single cell, and that human being will eventually have 100 trillion cells. That's 100 million cells, which, by the way, are dividing by the millions per second throughout the lifetime. You can imagine how many cells are actually produced in a human lifetime. And all of the DNA in all of those cells are photocopies of that first cell. That first cell has a genome called the human genome. That human genome means that you are distinctly human. You don't come across another species and go, I wonder if that was human. Humans are very easily identified as the human species. You don't come across a giraffe and go, I wonder if that's a giraffe. So every member of every species has the same genome, and genome is what determines species. But here's what the genome has on it. Here's what all the genes have, this DNA. They have all the recipes and the ingredients lists and the cooking instructions for every bit of structure and function that will ever be expressed by any member of that species. Some people call it the blueprint. I call it the recipe book, because if we go further down this analogy, it makes it easier to understand than a blueprint, in my opinion. But so that's what the genome has on it. It has all of the blueprints for human structure and function. And so it has all the ingredients lists. And that ingredients list are the things that are required by the genes in your cells in order to make proper structure and function. And if you're missing any of those things, or if you're putting poisons or toxins in, then your cells cannot produce healthy cell function or healthy structure and function. So the reason why it's so important to live right for your species type is because your species type is determined by your genome, and your genome is what determines what food you need to eat, how much you need to exercise, and how you need to socially interact with other members of your species. And that's true of all species, but it's especially true in this case of the human species. So once you get that, then what you realize is the reason people are sick is because they're not living according to what their species requires. They're not eating with what is, they're not providing the nutrients that are on the ingredients list of their genes. They're not moving and providing the fitness or physical movement stimuli nutrients that are required from their genes. They're not socially interacting or thinking in ways that are required by their genes in order to express a healthy, happy life. And so in biology, if we're going to save a species that's endangered, what we know is we have to save the habitat that's matched to that species. Correct? And that's true of the human species. If we want to save the human species from all this chronic illness, what we have to do is we have to figure out what is required by that species in terms of eating and moving and thinking. And then we have to get people to match their lifestyle habits with what their genes require to express health.